Welcome to The Explainer. There's a huge shift happening in Canadian business right now. It's all about moving past just talking about Indigenous reconciliation and actually building it into the bottom line. And let's be clear, this isn't about charity, it's about partnership. And honestly, it's changing everything.
So, what does that really mean for a company? What is the actual role of business in reconciliation? Because, let's face it, we're talking about something way bigger than just writing a check or adding a land acknowledgement to an email signature. We're talking about a fundamental, strategic, and, ethical choice to be a real partner in creating a totally different kind of future.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it down today. First, we'll touch on acknowledging a difficult past. Then, we'll get into what it means to build cultural competency. After that, we'll look at putting reconciliation into action. What does that actually look like? And finally, we'll explore what it means to forge a shared future together.
Okay, let's dive into part 1, acknowledging a difficult past. To really get why this is so important right now, you absolutely have to understand the why behind it all. We have to look back at how we got here.
You can see a pretty clear through line here, right? It all starts with colonization, which led to land dispossession and systemic marginalization. Then you have the treaties, which were supposed to be these foundational agreements, but, well, they were often ignored or broken. And of course, the residential school system, which was designed for cultural erasure and has left this deep intergenerational trauma. The point is, these aren't just things that happened back then. Their impact is absolutely still being felt today in very real ways. And this is so important to remember. We're not talking about one single monolithic group. We're talking about over 600 distinct First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities across Canada. Every single one has its own unique culture, its own language, its own traditions. And what that means for business is, well, a one-size-fits-all strategy is just not going to cut it. It's doomed from the start.
And all that history, it has very real, very tangible consequences today. It's created these significant, persistent gaps in things like wealth, health outcomes, and education between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. This is the economic reality, the so what that reconciliation is trying to address.
So, if that's the problem, if that's the gap, how do businesses even begin to help close it? Well, it all starts with building a new kind of skill, cultural competency. You can think of it as the bridge that takes you from just being aware of the history to actually doing something meaningful about it.
So, what exactly is cultural competency? It's so much more than just being aware. It's really the ability to take that understanding and respect for cultural differences and weave it into the very fabric of your business, from how you make decisions in the boardroom all the way down to your supply chain. To put it simply, it's about fundamentally changing how you think, not just checking off a list of things to do.
And in practice, what does that look like? Well, it means really understanding the historical context, colonization, the treaties. It means appreciating the distinct cultures and languages. It's about a deep recognition of Indigenous rights and sovereignty and respecting Indigenous practices of land stewardship. But maybe the most crucial piece here is that last one, a real commitment to ongoing learning. This isn't a course you take and then you're done. It's a journey.
Okay, so you've got this foundation of cultural competency. Now what? Let's get practical. How do you actually start putting reconciliation into action? This is really where good intentions start to become real, measurable impact.
One of the most effective tools out there is what's called a Reconciliation Action Plan, or a RAP. The best way to think about it is like a formal roadmap for your company. And step 1, the absolute non-negotiable first step, is to consult. And that means genuine dialogue, listening, not just showing up to talk. From there, you take a hard look at your own business practices, identify the gaps, and then you commit to clear, measurable goals for things like procurement and training. Then you implement it, really bake it in your corporate culture. And finally, and this is key, you report on your progress to hold yourselves accountable.
This right here really gets to the core of the whole mindset shift. It's about moving away from token gestures and toward genuine collaboration. It's the difference between a transactional one-off relationship and a true long-term partnership. It's the difference between a superficial land acknowledgement and actually integrating Indigenous voices into your decision-making. One is basically a checkbox exercise, the other, The other is a real partnership.
And a perfect example of this in action is something called inclusive procurement. When a company makes a conscious choice to prioritize indigenous suppliers, it's not just a small policy tweak. It becomes this incredibly powerful engine for economic reconciliation. Think about it. It directly supports indigenous-owned businesses, helps foster community self-sufficiency, and honestly, it builds a more diverse and resilient supply chain for everyone.
All right, so after all this work, what's the payoff? That brings us to our final section, forging a shared future. And this is key because this is not a zero-sum game. When this is done right, truly right, everybody wins.
And the benefits for businesses are very, very real. I mean, partnering with indigenous communities isn't just good PR. It's a genuine competitive advantage. You get access to new perspectives and traditional knowledge that can spark incredible innovation. You build a much stronger reputation with customers and investors who demand ethical practices, and you open up access to one of the fastest-growing economic sectors in the entire country. It's just smart business.
So what this all adds up to, ultimately, is the creation of a more inclusive, more robust economy for all of Canada. It's a new model where corporate success is directly tied to Indigenous economic growth, to social equity, and to those powerful principles of environmental stewardship that have guided Indigenous communities for millennia.
So, look, if there's one single thing you take away from this explainer, let it be this. Engaging in reconciliation isn't just a moral imperative. It's not just the right thing to do. It is a powerful, strategic business advantage in the 21st century. So we've laid out the path, right? From understanding the past, to building the right skills, to taking real, concrete action. The road to reconciliation, it turns out, is also the road to a more innovative, more prosperous future for everyone. So that leaves us one question for every business leader out there. What will your commitment be?